Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This is a breaking news edition of Locked On Cubs, as the Cubs and Kyle Tucker could not come to an agreement on a salary for the 2025 season, and the two sides may go to arbitration depending on the process that plays out over the next few weeks. So there is some details in here that we'll need to follow up on, but the facts are the facts right now. That is the star player they acquired 27 days ago. They could not come to terms with. The Cubs filed for the 2025 season at $15 million. Kyle Tucker and his team filed at 17.5, and they could not settle in the middle at 16.25. Or how about this? Just cover the difference in Tucker's asking price, go the 2.5 M's, and go all the way to 17.5. So there is some finer points that we'll have to iron out, Sam, but I do think with this happening, you could make a case that the Cubs' goodwill lasted only 27 days.
Yeah, so for those that don't understand what happened, when a player is arbitration eligible, the team and the player file a number based on a bunch of figures and projections and whatnot. If you're, the goal is to be right around the same number, and everything works out. If you can't come to an agreement by a certain time, you have to go to an arbitration hearing, which can get kind of nasty because you have to talk bad about said player in order to bring his value down, which is where the Cubs will be headed if they can't figure out something soon. And the Cubs were $2.5 million below where Kyle Tucker and his camp projected. And it just summarizes where I'm at with this team right now. And really, team's not the right word, Matt. It's franchise. It's all off season, Matt. You read more than I read. Guys like Ken Rosenthal have taken shots, major shots. Jeff Passan, if you read between the lines, have kind of taken digs at the Cubs. And for you to be this tone deaf and for you to be so disengaged with the optics of what this looks like, they better come out. If I were running the team right now, I would tell Jed to make a public statement and say, hey, we just went off of projections. We want Kyle Tucker here. We're going to get this figured out right now because this is an embarrassing look. Does it affect Kyle Tucker and the Cubs in 2025? No, not at all. Does this happen all the time across the league? Yeah, it does. But should it happen when you just traded for a superstar caliber player that you're hoping to extend? It's a bad look, and it just explains where they're at. It reminds me a lot of after they got counsel and we got all excited and they didn't do anything. I now am in the belief mode of they got Kyle Tucker just as much because of his price as they did his talent. And they need to fix this. They need to start doing some PR stuff, and they cannot let this get to a point where it starts to get nasty.
Yeah, I would hope over a $2.5 million gap, it wouldn't stoop to those levels. But at the same time, you're befuddled why we're even having to record this right now.
It's optics.
What? And again, I'm not subscribing to the theory, oh, it's an insult and Tucker's camp takes it personal, though you could make a case for that too. But there's, even when you want to imagine just a sliver of Tucker remaining in 2026 and beyond, it goes away because this is, again, the reinforced reality of the budget.
Yep.
And the Cubs dollars and cents right now, because of minority owners coming in, among other factors, the budget is so tight that for 1 year of one star player, the Cubs can't go to 17.5 M's. They have to stay at 15.
Yeah, it's just, and hopefully they get there, but it's just again, the word of this video is optics. how does it look to your fans? How does it look to the rest of the league? How does it look to free agents when you go trade a guy? Let's call it like it is. If it's $17.5 million, you're getting a bargain. The guy is a $30+ million a year player. Okay. Don't pinch pennies here. It is just a bad look. Now, I always, as we have a show and a platform, I'll always leave open to, hey, maybe the Cubs were just going by the book and they said, hey, if he does file for something more, we'll get this done. Maybe they get this fixed and this becomes a moot point. But if it doesn't, it should just be, hey, with Tucker, we're not doing any of that. The budget stuff, the private equity stuff, that doesn't apply to this guy because we want this guy happy. We hopefully want to have a chance to make him a Chicago Cub for life, which just seems less likely by the day. I mean, I was listening to the North Side Territory with Mooney and Sharma yesterday, and they're joking around, but in the beginning, like it's people are like laughing about what the Cubs say and what they do. It's becoming kind of like a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I considered Kyle Tucker being a Cub in 26 and beyond a long shot to begin with, but now it's single digits, a single digit percentage, and I would have to be shown a lot of evidence to be swayed otherwise. And the arbitration projection in October for this dude was 15.8. It's just the differences are just so low.
And what did we offer? 15?
800 grand less.
Yeah. So that right there, if the projection's 15.8, you should you should put out like 16.5 and say, hey, let's just get this done. Let's keep him happy. Maybe
you might even want to just give him a little bit of a raise.
Right. Just do the common sense thing. This isn't the guy to pinch pennies with. And meanwhile, as of right now, our 40-man roster consists of all middle-aged relief pitchers.
It's 17 of the 40 spots are literally relief pitchers.
That's how many guys the Bears are interviewing for their head coach.
Coincidentally, it's the same number for the Bears.
Same number, man. I can't do this anymore. Look, this isn't about baseball, guys. Everybody.
Why create the turbulence? Why?
This is just business 101. Hey, we just got this really great new asset that deep down, we know it's a long shot to keep him, but we really want to keep him happy. We want him to fall in love with Chicago. Let's get things started on the right foot. Let's lowball him by $2.5 million. Who's in charge of this? Who was that? Was that Jed? Right. Was that Tom? I want to know, and we'll be at Cubs convention, and I may ask this very question. Who was in charge of the Kyle Tucker initial filing? Because wasn't that kind of embarrassing? I'll hand the mic over.
Or even more to the point, why didn't you want to pay 17.5 to Kyle Tucker?
Well,
and just walk away.
Well, they didn't know. Yeah, right. So because you're saying they didn't know he was going to file, but once they did, they could have just made it wraps and said, "We'll just give you that." It didn't have to become public. Yeah, no, because this was supposed to be done almost 12 hours ago.
Yeah, the original deadline was noon. Then there was a 7:00 deadline that was a little bit firmer in terms of the financial side.
And it's hilarious. The people that are like, hey, this happens. It's like, it's not about, we know they're going to settle it. That's not the point.
Right.
All we've heard for the last 2 off seasons is that the Cubs have a budget situation and are cheap. And the Bellinger staring contest supported that. The Imanaga, even though that was a great deal, that contract was really weird and all these different opt-outs. And then this year it's been, they tap out on Soto before it even began. They tap out on Burns before it even begins. And It's like, hey, something's going on. And you would think they would have the presence of mind, the common sense to go, man, if we come out really short on this, it'd be one thing if they were $500,000 apart and figured it out. To your point, they're $2.5 million.
Right. Again, is an arbitrator really going to come in the room later this month? Hopefully not.
How much did they give Thielbar?
$275.
I'd rather hand the money back for him, send him and just make sure Kyle Tucker is happy and give him the extra 2.5 if that's what it takes.
And you save 25 G's.
And you save 25 G's and Tom could go out and go on another vacation with the extra money.
250 G's, excuse me.
This is embarrassing. I'm in. Do you know I got a text,
Actually,
and
I don't know what the math is there.
and I asked the person if I could mention their name, and they said no. But I got a text that said, "You want to know what the text said? You and Matt should be embarrassed, us, because we have to cover this."
Well, meanwhile,
I'm embarrassed.
Kyle Tucker today, Fangraphs updated all their projections. Meanwhile, he's projected as a 5-WAR player with 32 homers.
$2.5 million.
They couldn't pay him $2.5 million.
No, and I think.
By the way, the Cubs right now are projected at only 82 wins and change, according to Fangraphs. So that's a cherry on top right there.
Well, my vibes have changed over the last couple of weeks.
82.5 wins. That's going to do it.
My vibes have changed over the last few weeks. I think you've recognized that probably more off the air than on the air, Matt.
Yeah.
Because I sense something like this coming with everything we're hearing, the scout stuff. And so when I saw this, I snapped.
Wow.
I was pacing around.
Was anything thrown?
Nothing thrown. I obviously texted you right away. I was glad that we both felt like we needed to go public with this dismay. And
good word choice.
And from about 8:43 Central to about 9, I was just pacing around my place with the Penn State Notre Dame game because I you know what? I'm fine with accepting. Seriously, if we have to accept that this is a mid-market franchise, fine. But then come out and tell us. I don't need Christmas Eve drops from Jesse Rogers sneakily starting to hint at what's going on. Just tell us. Tell us that the private equity people aren't happy. Tell us something's going on. So at least we know, because this stuff, how I struggle when I can't figure out things, and I just can't figure this out.
All right. Kyle Tucker and the Cubs might go to arbitration. They couldn't come to terms by the deadline on a deal for the 2025 season. Cubs filed at 15. Kyle Tucker and his camp filed at 17.5. So this story is to be continued. Sam, pending any breaking news, we'll be back on Monday, and then next week, convention, just a packed week.
And we got this. Did we say it was reported by Rogers? You probably did at the beginning.
Jesse Rogers, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you. I think it'll be a fun next week's show.
Yeah. It's going to be an exciting week of shows. Despite some turbulence along the way. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
See you at the CBA.